Okay. I say a word, you respond.
Okay.
First thing pops to your mind.
All right.
Pride.
Hell.
Fall.
Oh, okay. I just thought about judgment.
Drag.
Satan.
Pride through the ground and kill it.
Gay.
I'm very happy.
Idaho. You're very happy. We're going to get there. You'll understand. Hey, welcome to Cross Politics. It's Thursday evening, and it's good to be with you.
I'm just thankful we didn't start the show yelling at us this time.
I know. I was waiting for it. I was waiting like
it's like the first time this week.
Blow my eardrums.
I just want to ask you guys some questions.
I'm like, wow.
Oh, well, good evening
Brian
to you,
McLaren
Gary.
all of a sudden. Let's just have a conversation.
No one's ever compared me to Brian McLaren.
There's first time for everything.
Welcome to Cross Politics. Pastor Toby, Chuck Knox. I'm the water boy. It's good to be with you. We also have a candidate, Paul Thompson, coming up. Pastor, Paul Thompson coming up on the second segment, so stick around for that.
Reformation Heritage Books is a publisher and bookseller whose mission is to equip the saints to serve Christ and his church through biblical, experiential, and practical resources. RHB's reading material. Oh, Reformation. What does it stand for again? I already forgot it. Reformation Heritage Books. Acronyms.
He did that just so he could say it a couple times again.
LGBT's reading material.
No!
RHB's reading material is God glorifying in accord with scriptures and historic Reformed creeds for the promotion and defense of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Each book they publish and sell, whether from the Puritans or modern day authors, subscribes to the three forms of unity, which is the Belgic Confession, the Heidelberg Catechism, the Canons of Dort, and the Westminster Standards.
Facts.
Find out more at heritagebooks.org.
And they sent me some books. I'm so grateful.
They sent me some books.
I
think
enjoy
they sent
all
all
of
some
them. Yes,
books.
yes.
I've already been using their devotional that they sent.
I have too.
That commentary on the whole Bible. Did you see that? Like that family devotion?
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
on
yeah.
every chapter of the Bible. It's like a little devotional.
Yeah, one little paragraph
Family
per chapter.
Bible
thing.
thing.
I've been reading it.
heritagebooks.org.
Thank you. Okay, so on Wednesday,
Oof.
I was alerted of. So on Sunday, we're actually having a Boise Gay Pride Festival.
We are not.
We are not. Idaho is.
Okay.
Boise is. And that was and on Wednesday. I was alerted to
I
it.
can hear all the Baptists right now. It sounds so Presbyterian.
That's funny. That's funny, Knox.
Dumb, messed up, Aaron.
And so I found out about it on Wednesday. I sent out an email. I have a political email list.
Yeah.
I sent out a political email, and then I texted it to the president of Zions Bank locally. Zions Bank is one of the sponsors for the Gay Pride Festival. He sent that. He asked for me for permission to send that email on, and then along with my name and contact info, so it was a legitimate response to them, legitimate complaint to them.
Yeah.
And then about an hour later, he texted me back with the Zion statement that was going to be released later.
So you got firsthand experience of everything that's going on.
Yeah, so it kind of...
And Zion's pulled out.
And Zion's pulled out.
Here's their statement. Over the years, Zion's Bank has supported a variety of pride events, which you shouldn't have done, because they are an important part of our support for our LGBTQ, what about plus, employees and allies, and are representative of our efforts to foster an inclusive, diverse, and equitable workplace.
Yeah.
This support for all our employees and communities remains unchanged. However, when we committed to our sponsorship of this year's Boise Pride event, we were unaware of the event's activities involving children or minors. Since learning of these specific activities, we have made the decision to withdraw our participation in this year's Boise Pride event and have communicated this to the event organizers.
That's what it was. It was the kids.
It was the kids.
It wasn't the sodomy, it was the kids. All right.
It was kids there? Oh, well, in that case.
So, but if you look at all the
good
literature...
job for pulling it. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I know.
If you look at all the literature and marketing materials coming out from the Pride Festival, I mean, they are exactly targeting kids. They do have events specifically related to the kids.
Yeah.
They got drag kids on stage.
Drag kids.
The front of the brochure is made of cartoon action figures.
Right.
That's the front of the brochure.
Like superheroes.
So, hey, kids,
Kinda
this
like
is going to be a fun event.
Pervert trying to get kids to come in. You want some candy?
Here's some candy.
Some cartoons?
Okay. Now, look at it's on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's basically they've created a worship service on Sunday. Okay, at 11:45, it's a drag time story hour.
Yeah.
Okay. They're actually going to remember 9/11, which is
Remember, that's their form of prayer, I'm guessing.
whatever. And then you got praise and worship with Lesbi Kings there at the bottom.
And they're speaking in tongues, too.
Lesbi King, Afida Studio.
And then what did you say?
I'm just trying to
And then at 12:45, you got the Drag Kids event.
Now, this is what's really important about the Drag Kids event. It is not going to be, from what I understand from reading, people who are doing drag for kids. This is actually kids from 8 to 11.
11 to 18.
11 to 18, thank you. 11, who knows what the age is really on. 11
they identify 11 to 18.
Right. 11 to 18, there's going to be kids doing drag for kids and everybody else between that time of 8, between that time of the age groups of 11 to 18.
So this is happening in Idaho, and I'm having a hard time. Basically, what I see happening this is happening in Idaho, happening in Boise. It also happened in Coeur d'Alene, which was people made us think about it in Coeur d'Alene a couple of weeks ago.
June 8th or something like that, I think it was.
We're such a conservative state, and I'm like, why is this happening in Idaho?
Right, and on 9/11.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. But
I mean,
talk about raising a middle finger to God in a lot of ways,
and America.
And then, but I also just don't see like an immune system much from Idaho on this.
No.
Well,
we're in trouble.
Well,
go ahead, Pastor.
Go back to the Zion's Bank thing. I'm really thankful that they're polling.
I know, yeah. Idaho Power also took their name off.
Okay, but I don't think I shared the statement on Twitter, and I said I don't think Zion's Bank knew they were selling their soul when they started supporting Pride events.
Yeah,
the backlash is going to be intense from the Pride
and
people.
It has been.
I said pray for backbone and eyes to open to see the black pit they've been supporting. But I think that I'll lay this. I think we've failed in the church in particular.
Yeah.
To disciple the nation and teach them that there is a slippery slope here, and there are no brakes on this car.
That's right.
You cannot say, okay, it's okay for adults to commit adultery. It's okay for consenting adults to fornicate. It's okay for consenting adults to divorce their spouses.
That's right.
For no reason. You can't reject God's law at those levels and it not.
That's right.
Like this is what happens.
Yeah.
You give the finger to God on heterosexual sins.
That's right.
And you get homosexual sins, and you get pederasty.
That's right.
You get these things
all the way down. We need to make the slippery slope great again.
I mean, this is. I mean, it's like this is in the law of God.
Yeah.
Like in the law of God, it's like, look, you need to stay married and be faithful to your wife. And no, that means you can't sleep with your mother-in-law, and you can't sleep with your sister and your aunt, and you can't do it. Two women, 2 men.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like everybody's like act like they're prudes about Leviticus. They're like, really, Moses? Did you have to go into all that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
This is why he did, and you like this is the answer right here because you can't say I will give into my lust. Mm-hmm. And then say, but it will only go so far.
Yeah,
no,
that's right.
Lust simply wants what it wants. It has no brakes.
Yep, and it always wants more.
And that's why I think the point being, those like Zion's Bank and anyone else who thought it was a good idea to support the Pride perversion, like you were already setting them up. I mean, why? On what basis are you going to say they have to stop? That they cannot groom children to think about doing this too.
Yeah.
When Zion's backed out, we started to do a bunch of research trying to figure out like how are they getting funded? Like what's the financial keys that's funding this? Mm-hmm. And it was surprising because thank God for Heather Scott. That woman, she has done such a great job.
She's on one of our state senators,
legislators.
Yeah, she's done a great job digging on this. And so if you want to find her on Twitter, Facebook, you can find some of this information. But she found out that over $100,000 from Idaho Department of Health and welfare was spent in support of gay pride.
I mean, first of all,
in just 2021 alone.
Just stop there, wait, and just say health and welfare.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is like health and welfare giving hundreds of thousands of dollars for like cigarettes and cocaine.
Well, here's what's crazy. So, not to mention that I think over 75-80% of our money that comes into the health and welfare department is federal. Yeah. So 20% is probably our local state taxes. But here's what's crazy: the Department of Health and Welfare, their primary role in the community is to provide services and oversight to promote healthy people, safe children, and stable families.
Yeah, and monkeypox. And HIV.
Supposedly, the way that they do this is through special supplements and nutrition assistance like food stamps and Medicaid. That makes sense, although I don't like it. Providing direct care services for certain disadvantaged and underdeserved populations. Okay. Protecting children and vulnerable adults.
Right.
I said, we probably should get a dictionary and look up what people talk about, protecting, because I'm sure protecting to a pervert means something different.
Right.
So maybe they need to look up that word.
Underrepresented people, like
well, they would fit
mops,
underneath
like
that.
mops, minor attracted.
They're supposed to be promoting healthy lifestyles. Monkeypox, anybody? The homosexual lifestyle by itself is a very unhealthy lifestyle. I don't even know why they're supporting that. Identifying and reducing public health risk.
Right.
So you got monkeypox that's a pandemic right now. Everybody knows it is. And you send children and more people into this environment to potentially...
And the White House is sending a 900 vials of vaccine for the monkeypox for this event to Idaho.
Right.
So here's what's crazy about this. As I was looking up, I was like, okay, so who's the leadership? Well... The Department of Health and Welfare is directly under the leadership of Idaho Governor Brad Little. The board consists of 7 voting members appointed by the governor, as well as a chairman of House and the Senate Health and Welfare Legislative Committee.
Yeah, we need their names.
So, well, here you go. There goes their names right there on the back.
I want to know their names.
So here, while you going
Juliet Sharon, Ross Edmonds, Elke Shaw Tulloch, Cameron Gilliland, Shane Leach, Brad McDonald, Tamara Prissick, Chuck Weber. We need to talk to you people.
I would love to talk to them.
That would be interesting.
I would love to talk to them. There is thank God for Heather Scott again. She came up with a list of, there it goes. It's on the back screen there. That list right there. They've been doing this since 2016, and they've been ramping it up more and more every year. Here's something that you said, Pastor. You said it's the churches failing at this. We have failed to put the right type of watchdogs in place as well. We have this, like you said, this is a Republican state, right? And we have Republican people in the leadership, and the people that are in the position of leadership have capitulated even themselves. And like, oh, are you not watching the money and what it's spent on? Are you not saying, hey, listen, we don't support this. This is not the type of state that we want these are not the type of things we want in our state.
Right.
Where's the moral, ethical values that come from being a Republican? That's not even there.
Yeah.
No.
And that means that the values look, I didn't even know up until now that Zion Bank was
Mormon?
Well, no, I knew that part, but was funding this.
Yeah.
I had no idea up until now.
Yeah, they've been funding the Pride Festival every year.
Yeah, and it took the fact that, the kids were going to be there, that their audience, like, our audience won't like that. Yeah. Well, where's your own moral?
Right.
Ethical
part of the issue though is that there's I don't think we're truly conservative. We're more libertarian than we are conservative.
Here in Idaho. And to your point, Toby, about the God's law, the concern for God's law. I just read an article today where Singapore they just decriminalized gay sex while pledging to add constitutional amendment to protect the definition of marriage between one man and one woman.
Right.
That's where it started. Yeah. And that's where it started in the U.S.
Right.
We decriminalized.
Right. And notice the deal they made.
Yep.
We're going to affirm that it's man and woman.
Yep.
You just cut that branch off the tree.
Yep.
Give it 20 years.
That's right.
Here you are.
No, you're dead.
I want to say this too, real quickly. We have to understand this is the bigger plan and play in all of this is to remove beauty. Mm-hmm. What these guys are doing are dressing up like women, right? Mm-hmm. And there's blackface for women. So they're destroying what is the crowning glory of man.
Right.
That's beauty. What does beauty do for a man? It gives him courage. Why do you think they want to destroy beauty? To destroy man from having courage to fight and engage these things. They are going through the back door to cut off the knees of man. After men doesn't see beauty anymore and you don't know what a woman is, then the man that says, hey, man, I would love this happened in Atlanta to some of my friends. They wanted to step up to a lady, but they've been hit too many times with the fact that actually wasn't a lady.
Oh, man.
Ooh. All of a sudden.
Are you serious?
It wasn't a lady. He had to find out the hard way. And he was sitting up there like, ooh. And all of a sudden it made him say, I'm not willing to step up. I need to know your mom. It changes the whole dynamics of things. But the whole point at the end of the day with all this is to remove courage from man by doing it like this, publicly putting to death what is beautiful.
Yeah.
And we cannot stand for this in any kind of way.
Paul Get it Thompson, out of Idaho.
We're going to talk to him about this and much, much more. Pastor Paul Thompson next on Cross Politics.
Where Dave and I plan this year's company holidays.
Let's go through the list.
Easter.
Too religious.
St. Patrick's Day.
Too white. Mother's Day.
Way too cisgendered.
All of your usual holidays have been canceled this year.
But we still have Karl Marx's birthday.
Need a real reason to party? Find a new job at redballoon.work.
Home. It's where you build your legacy, where traditions are started, seeds are planted, meals are shared, and stories are told. We are Chris and Natalie Carpenter, owners of Story Real Estate, and our team of top agents helps people find homes in Moscow, Idaho, and around the country.
Have you thought about a move? Contact us to get connected with a top agent who shares your values and puts your family first. Or reach out to us about our Moscow relocation guide.
Wherever you're looking to go, we can help you find home. Call us at Story Real Estate or visit us at storyrealestate.com and start building your legacy.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Who writes these ads? Why do I have... Do you like Jesus and beer?
I don't even like that ad.
How long is that? This is my favorite one. This is the one I gave to Babylon B to read for us. So.
Yeah. Then you and your family need to come to Fight Laugh Feast conference because nothing says family like Jesus and beer. It's going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee, October 6th through the 8th. The topic of the conference is lies, propaganda, storytelling, and the serrated edge.
Swing.
Satan is the father of lies, and the mother of those lies is a government that has rejected God. Christians haven't been reading their Bibles, so we as a society are more susceptible than ever to Satan and his lies. So
Idaho.
Join us October 6th through the 8th as we fight, laugh, and feast with beer and psalms. And you don't have to drink the beer if you don't want to. You just sing psalms with us.
Kool-Aid.
Our amazing lineup of speakers, including Pastor Doug Wilson, George Gilder, President Ben Merkel of New St. Andrews College. I'll be there. Chocolate Knox is going to be doing a roundtable on storytelling.
Imagination.
And the power of stories in cultivating the right kind of Christian imagination. Kind of the opposite of what this Pride Festival is doing. They understand discipleship.
They do.
Superheroes and getting kids to dress up and pretend that, transgenderism is some kind of superhero. Superpower. Anyways, we've got real stuff for the kids at our conference, like jumpy castles. Yeah, that's what we do. So sign up to attend with you and yours.
Strong.
Become a vendor at fightlaughfeast.com. Hope to see you there. We are very grateful to have with us on the line right now Pastor Paul Thompson. Pastor Paul, personal friend of mine. He's a pastor of Eastside Baptist Church down in Twin Falls, Idaho. He was what's moving June 2001. He became the pastor down there, and his wife Renee were married in 1986. They have 2 sons and 3 grandchildren. Is that right? Look at that.
Yeah, we have 3 on the ground and one in the womb.
Hey. All right,
all them kids are baptized too, ain't they?
We love our covenant theology in our Baptist church.
But
he answered like a politician. Did you hear
that? Pastor Paul is currently running for Idaho Senate in District 25, which is down near Twin Falls, Idaho. So, Pastor Paul, thanks for joining us on Cross Politic again.
Yeah, listen, guys, it's thanks for having me back, and it's always good to see you guys.
Absolutely. So, Paul, how did conservative, red state conservative Idaho get to the point where we have drag queen and pride events, grooming children out in public parks funded by hundreds of thousands of tax dollars?
Yeah, it really is a great shame. And I'm sure that anyone listening right now, or at least in the state of Idaho, will know that in Idaho, our taxpayer dollars are helping fund most of these gay pride events that are happening. My city included in Twin Falls, Idaho, for the last 5 or 6 years. Idaho Health and Welfare has been dumping tens of thousands of dollars to help promote pride events in my city. And just like in Boise right now, and I'm sure up in North Idaho as well. And really, how do we get here? There's probably lots to evaluate through this, but I think largely we have a sleepy little church that knows better and sits back in our churches thinking, what can we do? We got to do something, and quite frankly, rarely do anything about it. And so I really think, as you guys have noted in the past, these things largely sit upon the church people and the God-fearing people who love God with all their heart, with all their soul, with all their might, with all their strength, and have just really been living a couple of generations of not witnessing people stand up and speak into our culture, speak into our government.
So then what would you, you're a pastor. You're seeing the things that are going on right now. I guess I would ask you why you're running, but I guess that's obvious. What do you do with your congregation when you see something like this?
Here at Eastside Baptist Church, I attend our city council meetings every week, with a few exceptions when I'm out of town or have some kind of a conflict. But I keep my eyes wide open, and I'm very vocal to let my church, hey, listen, you need to contact your city council. Here's something that they're talking about. Here's something they plan to do, and as well, I've enjoyed some levels of ability to communicate to my larger community until about the last year and a half. I've written a regular column in our newspaper. I serve as a chaplain until about a year and a half ago at our hospital. So I have a lot of opportunities to speak into my community, and I'm grateful for those opportunities. But the longer I've done it, the more I've been canceled out of those opportunities. So I continue to let my church know, and they let their friends and other churches know. You got to pay attention today, and you got to get engaged.
Pastor, I'm grateful that you're running, although at the same time, I'm so concerned about the church. So I know you have the job of pastoring, and seeing a pastor go into politics, I'm always like, oh man, I want to have him in the church, and I want him to send out somebody else to the political side. So what is it that you're seeing right now that you say, you know what, I need to be running for office as well as pastor, and you're seeing the dualship of what needs to be done here in these two offices?
Yeah, and actually, I hear what you're saying. The concern. I've had a long dialogue with my church about my engagement in this, and so by the grace of God, I have a couple of other elders here in the church house that know how to handle the Word of God and do. And the plan for us is that if I can get elected, that I'll spend Monday through Friday in Boise. My wife will travel with me to the State House for those days that we're in session, January through April. And then I'll be home on weekends, and I'll preach in the pulpit. I'll bring the Lord's word to his people. And then my brother elders will shepherd the people while I'm in Boise. And so we have a comfortableness of that of our church that we think for a short period of time. I'm not looking at this as a career. I am a pastor, and that is my first and only passion, is to shepherd the people of God that I have responsibility for. But I also am a pastor in a community, and I look around the landscape, and I have some other brothers in the city that do speak out, but by and large, a lot of things happen in my city that we're shocked at and surprised by, and for that matter, that are happening throughout the state of Idaho.
Yeah. Why are you running? Because you're running as a constitutional candidate, as opposed to running as a Republican Party candidate. What made that? And I think you did that last time when you were running for House too.
Yeah. So this really is an intentional decision. The representation that I have around here is, according to several organizations that grade and give scores to legislators, my representation in the House and the Senate are some of the lower scoring of the Republicans. I have a lot of Republican friends here. I have a lot of opportunities to speak into the Republican Party, but for the last several years, I'll travel to the State House to testify against a bill or for a bill, and I'll come home and only to find out that my representation usually votes alongside of the Democrat Party rather than the Republican Party. And my Republican friends around here are a bit shocked that they still run as Republicans. But, again, part of my role as a pastor is to speak prophetically into my community. And so I know that sometimes when I show up for example, at a city council meeting, and I speak against the Pride event that happens in my city, I know at some level, many people might think I'm speaking politically, but in all reality, I'm really speaking prophetically from the Word of God to my community. And so I stand before them many times as a judgment from God. And so if the Lord would so allow me to be elected into this seat, I want to argue from the position of the gospel for the righteousness that the bills should be, and speak against the unrighteous bills that are introduced, and to speak from that position not as a foreteller, but as a prophetic speaking voice at the very arena where these ideas are hammered out.
Paul, in addition to some of the sexual immorality that we've already discussed and where there's a need for the church to speak prophetically, what are some of the other big ticket items on your list that you see going on in our state that you are hoping to make an impact on?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys know this, that our adoption and foster care has basically been handed over to the state. And we know that this is not something that the state, that any government at any level is really fit by God to do. And so this is one of the things that the church ought to be doing. And quite frankly, as we attempt to do that here in our city, we have to walk through, because we've given up on this and given it to the state, we actually have to walk through a very secular system that puts demands on us in order to foster children or to adopt children. We have to play by the state's laws. And those are really, quite frankly, unethical and immoral. And so that's a big piece for me. Everybody around here knows that we have a foster care problem in the state. And I think this is something that needs to be reformed. For sure. I think nobody, I don't talk to anybody that doesn't think the education system is completely broken.
Well, Brad's working on that. Brad just gave the education system another $400 million. So we're on the right path. We're on the right path, right?
Sure. So that's another part of the problem is we keep expecting the problem to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Bars, preach it.
Yeah, for real.
Oh man. Those are some of the big things. I certainly argue from the sake of state sovereignty as well. We really should stand up and tell the Department of Education from the federal department, listen, thank you for the money you have brought us, but we don't need you to educate our children any longer. I think our state sovereignty has been lost, and Idaho is too great of a state to not be able to take care of the things that Idaho needs to take care of. Paul, on education, independence from the National Department of Education sounds really good. What are ideas you have as far as reforming Idaho's state education system?
Yeah, I think obviously it'll be a slow fade out because really a lot of people are used to living off of the federal department, and so a couple of examples of things that we have to really address, and we can't address them until we separate ourselves or divorce ourselves from the federal Department of Education, and that is everything related to Title IX in our schools.
Yeah,
and every school district around me down here in southern Idaho is dealing with the transgender issues inside of who gets to use what bathrooms and who gets to sleep in what bedrooms whenever they're staying overnight in field trips and such. And it's like every school district, and I attend these school board meetings, they're actually looking for the way to keep their relationship with the federal Department of Education while trying to appease the uprising of parents that say, no, we don't want this. Mm-hmm. So I really don't think we can even start talking about how we do it until we really address, do we really want to be divorced from the federal Department of Education? But I think a lot of things have happened in the last decade that have been really good, and that is the rising of homeschool co-ops, the rising of private schools. And so I think that needs to continue on. And communities, I think then probably our local public schools, which our Idaho Constitution requires us to provide a public school, a common school. Right. And so while we make that transition, these school districts will begin to listen whenever they start seeing that they're even though our residency in the state of Idaho continues to explode, if the number of students in the public school system continues to decrease, they'll have to start listening to us.
Right. Paul, what's your website? Where can people go check out more about you?
Yeah, thanks, guys. You can go to votepaulthompson.com, and you find out all this and many more things that we're arguing for down here in southern Idaho. And then from that, it's an argument for the whole state.
Amen.
VotePaulThompson.com, right?
There you go.
Now, don't just go to the website.
You got it.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Paul, stick around for just a second here. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
Meet Big Ed. He has a tax-funded taste for children. Big Ed knows that the best grooming starts early. He has a plan for your preschoolers, a plan to gender confuse your grade schoolers. But if you think his grooming stops there, you have not been paying attention. Big Ed wants to liberate your daughters from old-fashioned ideas like, well, you already know. Big Ed has dorm rooms ready for you in prison buildings of learning, and professors standing by dedicated to grooming young adults in doubt and unbelief. After all, he is the gatekeeper of this brave new world, and if you want a job, you'll need to pay him with years of your life for a permission slip. Yeah, whatever. You think David paid Goliath for a certificate in giant management before those two squared off? Did Luther major in theses? Was George Washington summa cum laude in empire repellents, while Jefferson focused on ag with a minor in declarations? When the world needs saving, meaningful vocations abound for those who are truly prepared. And the truth is, despite Marxist advances, this is still America, and Big Ed is still a voluntary opt-in. So don't. Not at any level. Not preschool, not middle school, not college. It isn't complicated. When Big Ed offers you free candy, stay away. You'll thank us later. We know it's crazy, but run with us here. Men and women were created in the image of God. You don't need a government certificate of faux learning for personal validation or permission to work. You were born with divine permission to pursue knowledge and understanding, truth, goodness, and beauty. And at New St. Andrews College, we are committed to helping students do just that, to their fullest potential. In an age dominated by chaos, when learning is on a choke leash controlled by Big Ed and his many strange friends, ours is an education for outlaws, an education for men and women committed to building a beautiful and free society in the ruins of the Western world. When thinking is outlawed, only outlaws will think. Yes, Big Ed hates what we do, but his hatred brings us joy. New St. Andrews College. Liberal arts for outlaws. Mind, body, and soul.